Hey guys, what's up? Tyler here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Canon M50 Mark I and Mark II, which I'm going to pretend is here in this hand. I do not own it, and whether or not those are good camera buys in the year 2021. And so the Canon M50 Mark II was released in 2020, and to a lot of people, it's considered a firmware upgrade to the Canon M50 Mark I. And I would say that I'm one of those people because you really weren't getting a lot in terms of new features. And so I have a couple things wrote down here that the two share and that are different between the two. And so both cameras have the same sensor, a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor. They both have the same ISO range from 100 to 25,600. They both only have digital stabilization, so there's no inbuilt optical stabilization. It's all digital. They both have the same viewfinder. Now, the Canon M50 Mark II does have a little bit better autofocus. They call it the movie servo autofocus. It can shoot vertical videos, which the Canon M50 can do too. You just rotate the camera. It's probably just a marketing thing to say, hey, you can shoot vertical video on the Canon M50 Mark II. I can do the same thing on the first one. It has a clean HDMI out, which is a very good feature. And it can stream wirelessly to YouTube, which, and it actually has a dedicated movie record button on the LCD touchscreen. So technically it's a better camera, but those things that I just mentioned really aren't something that I'm going to say when I have the M50 Mark I, say, hey man, I need to ditch the Mark I, I'm coming for the Mark II, because there's just not a lot there. Now, to be fair, the Canon M50 Mark I is $650 and the Mark II is only $50 more. So if you are considering one of these two cameras and you're buying new, for sure buy the Canon M50 Mark II. Now, if you have the Mark I like I do and you're thinking, should I upgrade to the Mark II? No, I definitely do not think it's worth it. Unless like clean HDMI is like the most important thing for you, then maybe you should consider upgrading. But if I have the Canon M50 Mark I, I'm not upgrading to the Mark II unless somebody's paying me to upgrade, which nobody is. But if you want to, I would not object. Now, if you're just considering this line in general, and you're also considering things like the Sony Alpha series or the RX100 series or the Canon G7X series or the Canon RP, the R, the M6, M7, all these different cameras, these are still really good cameras. They might not be the best with 4K. In fact, 4K on the Mark I is just like not usable unless you are using auto or manual focus and things are very controlled. Autofocus is trash on here. I'm just gonna be honest, but I don't have this camera for 4K autofocus. It gives me amazing 1080p. The dual pixel autofocus works great, and that stuff is still gonna work just as well, if not better, on the Mark II. But this Mark I is still a great buy in 2021. All of my videos, well, I shouldn't say all, most of my videos lately, especially on my Miller's Homestead channel, where we're talking about homesteading and all that fun stuff, most of those are shot with this camera. Some of the videos on this channel are shot with this camera. And sometimes you can't even tell the difference because when you have good lighting and a good process, the gear is not as important. You could have an iPhone and still, like an older iPhone, and get great footage if you have great composition for your set. Don't get so caught up in, I gotta have the best camera. Does it shoot 4K, 1000 frames per second? If not, I can't have it. That stuff, like, that's nice on paper, but let's just be realistic. Most people are watching content in 1080p still. I know I made this video a long time ago and I'm getting into a rant, but I'm gonna say it again. Most people watch content in 1080p. And so that being said, if you can find a used Canon M50, you're probably gonna find it for a pretty good price, especially since the Mark II got announced. People might be wanting to upgrade, or they're just selling this camera off, and when the Mark II comes, this one goes down in value on the market. So you can get a really good deal on some Canon M50s if you look around. And it's just a very reliable camera system, and it hasn't let me down. I've never had any terrible issues with it. The 4K video is really the only thing that I don't like about it, but it's just a great system. And I know the Mark II is also a great system. It's just not the upgrade that we were all hoping for. I would definitely recommend you consider the Canon M50 line in 2021. It might not be the fanciest, schmanciest, top of the line camera with the greatest specs, but like I said, that doesn't matter as long as you have good composition, you can get good lighting. Even if you can't get good lighting, it's still a good camera. You've seen the footage. People use it all the time on YouTube. If you have a good story to tell, things like cameras and lighting, they all take a back seat if you have a good, compelling story, if you're making good content, making sure your audio don't sound like trash, make sure you get yourself a microphone. All that stuff's important. It all works together. Just because you buy a fancy camera does not guarantee you success whenever you're making any type of videos. And so that's a separate video in itself. I don't want to rant too much. Here we go. But I just wanted to make this video about the Canon M50 in 2021 and why I think it's still a valid option for people to buy. And remember, this thing is only 650 bucks. The Mark II is only 700. Like, that's pretty cheap whenever you're looking at other cameras. You know, the G7X line, they're a little bit cheaper, but this has interchangeable lenses and some more features. And, you know, some of these other Canon cameras, you're getting up into like 1,200 bucks, 1,500. Same thing with some Sony cameras. And if you're not looking to drop over $1,000 for a camera, this is an excellent choice. And so if you want to find the Canon M50 online and look up some more about it, I will link some websites down in the description below where you can buy it. I got mine off of Amazon. I got the creator kit where it came with a Rode video mic and this camera, and it's been a great combination for me. And make sure you also follow me on my social links, Tyler Miller TV on both Twitter and Instagram. Those are linked below as well. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you're notified and you see new videos from me. Videos about camera gear, audio gear, video production, and all that fun stuff. And so that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.